Alright guys, look, if I miss anything here, I apologise, but so much shit went on yesterday in that race that I'm pretty sure I'm going to forget some important shit that happened, but I'm going to cover most of it at least. We're doing our power rankings today. We'll do a little bit of a recap. We'll give our honourable mentions and our dishonourable mentions at the end, as always. We do have a little bit of movement in the 10 this week. In fact, some significant movement from some major title contenders, and we can call them that now, can't we? Just hanging on to 10th is my boy Aleix Espargaro. Not much he could have done. Like, he was having a good race. He didn't make Q2, which was interesting on Saturday, but was running well. I think he was probably in 6th or 7th when he might not have been. I mean, like I said, it was a hectic. I can't keep up with where everybody was, but I think he was around 7th when the Aprilia gave up on him, and that was it. So, was riding well. He's dropped 2 places this week. He was 8th last week. Not really his fault, but what can you do? Didn't finish. Into number 9, and it's another dropper, down 4 places this week, is Sam Lowes. Tight field, this Moto2 field. You can't afford to give points away to Ralph Fernandez and Remy Gardner right now, because they are not having bad days. They're just not having them. I mean, the worst day we've seen from them is Ralph Fernandez had a couple of 5ths. You know, Remy's had a 4th. In fact, Remy's results from the 5th to last race last season until now, they're just rattling off these results. It was 3rd, 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 2nd. It's ridiculous. He's in title winning form. Anyway, we're not talking about him. We're not actually talking about him yet. We're not talking about him yet. We're talking about Sam. Tough day. I mean, conditions are probably a little bit greasy out there. I mean, it was a dry race. And he's crashed. So, yeah, he's lost touch a little bit. You know, he's 23 points off Gardner now, and he's just lost touch a little bit. He might find that difficult to peg back. I still had him as my title favourite last race after Jerez. If he was going to come here and podium again, definitely was still going to be my title favourite. And now it's shifted. It has shifted. And we will talk about that a little bit later in the power rankings. But if we go to number 8, it's another dropper. Down 2 this week. Mav. Just the steady decline. Steady decline. Dropping down every week. He's down 2. He's down from 6. He was obviously, after round 1, top guy. And it's just been a slow decline. Because he always finishes. That's the thing. You can never just tank him, because he'll at least salvage something, right? Like he did at the weekend. So based on that, it never really just tanks him out. But look, he's, once he finished 10th, since he won, he's gone 5th, 11th, 7th, 10th. And, we talk about this every week, so we probably don't need to go into it with that much detail again. But, you know how it is. I don't have to tell you what's going on here. Up to number 7. And now let's talk about these guys that Lowes has to worry about. It's Ralph Fernandez at number 7. This kid has got it. He's got that X factor. 2 wins now this season. He's gone to within a point of Gardner. Doesn't, like I said, he's picked up 2 5ths this year. So there's something happening there where he is getting to races where, for some reason, he doesn't have the most electrifying pace of all time, like he does some other days. But his bad days are not awful days. If your bad days can be 5th, you're probably on title-winning form, I'd say, especially if you've got the pace to then go and win races. He's won 2 out of 5. If you've got that kind of pace, you are in title-winning form. I mean, there's 2 different kinds of title-winning form. We're going to talk about the next kind of title-winning form in just a second. It was a really strong ride. I know that, we'll talk about Remy in a second. I always go back to Remy because he's always, in my head as an Australian. He's just sitting there. But we'll go back to Remy in a sec. But Ralph Fernandez, that was awesome. Really, really, really quick. And just held that gap. And just Bezzecchi couldn't get to him. Then Gardner got through. Gardner couldn't get to him. But he was awesome. Which takes us to number 6, and he's up 1 place. And that's Remy Gardner. I've kept Remy ahead of Fernandez here, because Fernandez is coming from outside of the top 10 to take his place in there. So he's come up from at least, let's say 12th. He would have been about there in my head. Remy, still in the title lead, hasn't won the race. I know that goes against my race wins a king philosophy. but 3 seconds and a third and a fourth. And like I said, I mentioned it earlier about his streak that he's on where he hasn't finished below like 4th or something, or 5th, right? Like that is the second kind of title winning form. That's the title winning form that wins you the title. If the wins start getting a bit more spread out, if Bezzecchi can get involved, Lowe's gets involved, Di Giannantonio gets involved, wins the odd race here and there, and takes these wins off Fernandez, and he only ends up winning 3 or 4 for the season, and Remy himself, obviously, then that is title winning form. If Remy only has to win 1 or 2 races then, because if you can come second everywhere else then, you know. But yeah, that's Remy. Again, he looked like he was down and out at a point in that race, and the reason that I thought this was a power ride, this was a powerful ride, the reason I thought that is because he really had to battle to get to second this week. And it's a shame that he kind of got caught up in an incident. He ended up, I think, 10th by the end of the first lap. The pace that Gardner had there, we were actually robbed there of a classic, an absolute Moto2 classic fight for the win, I think, because their pace was very similar with Ralph Fernandez. Would have been cool if we got to see that on track, the 2 teammates going at it, but unfortunately we didn't. Ralph Fernandez was too good on the day. That takes us up to number 5, and he's up 5 places. It's Jack. It's the thriller. Jack Miller's up from 10th last week. He's come from nowhere in the power rankings. He was way out. It was not even close to getting a look in with his first 3 rounds. And then all of a sudden, 2 wins on the bounce. Everyone else is pretty rubbish, really. Outside of the top 4 guys, there's not much going on. This ride in particular is rocketing him up the order here because 2 long laps, ran off the road, and then also just the post-race interview is almost worth a place on it. So just hearing Jack in the post-race interviews. I mean, I'm Australian, but I'm not half as Australian as Jack Miller. Just for context, for everybody who is an Australian out there, and you're trying to get a gauge on how Australian Jack Miller is. Yeah, he's the highest level of Australian. Just from the way he speaks in his interviews. So yeah, Jack up to number 5, another great race from him. At number 4 now, and he's down 3 places. It was last week's top of the rankings, Pedro Acosta in Moto3. He's down to number 4. He's the only Moto3 in the top 10 because the rest of them are all pretty rubbish. Dropped 3 places here because he only came 8th. And he only came 8th because he crashed. And then he got back on and then still came up and came 8th. I have no doubt in my mind that with the pace he had early in the race, he was coming from, he only qualified in like 21st, 22nd, 23rd, somewhere like that, outside of the top 20. And I think after the first couple of laps, he was already pretty much in or around the top 10. Based on that, I 100% think he probably had the pace to podium, if not challenge for the win again. But crashed. It was pretty early on, I think. Just got back on, had to make up a lot of ground, obviously. Yeah, dropped 3 places, but really, his ride was really good. He just had a crash in it, that's all. But, you know, he extended his championship lead this week. So I don't know if anyone out there can find any stats at all or any history into whether a rider's ever crashed and extended their championship lead on a Sunday. I think that would be an interesting one. I just can't be arsed looking it up. At number 3, the Flying Frenchman, one of the Flying Frenchmen. It's Johann Zarco. He did have a couple of quiet weeks there, a few quiet races. For me, he was definitely going to podium this week. I 100% knew he was going to be on the podium this week, and he was. So off his 2 quiet races that he's now had 3 second places out of 5 Grand Prix, and an 8th and a DNF. Still really strong. He's still 3rd in the championship. He's just ahead of Jack Miller now. I thought Johann Zarco was awesome this weekend. He shown plenty of fight all weekend. He was really going at every session, really attacking every session, and in the race showed a lot of control, showed a lot of grit and pace. He went out there on those medium wets when they did the bike change, and he was struggling early, but it came back to him, and he ended up, setting some really good lap times and putting pressure on Miller, like I said. So good race from him. He's up 1 from last week's number 4 he was at. So up to number 3. At number 2, it's Pecco with the absolute salvage job of the season so far. He's finished 4th there, and he was nowhere until, I don't know, what are we talking, like 10 laps to go? I can't remember where he was at any point, but I was just like, he's had a really bad start to the race. He dropped down to about 19th or something, and He was just struggling around. And then as soon as we got the bike change in, he was able to settle a little bit just in full wet conditions and just did his laps, and has somehow popped up in 4th place at the end of the day. And did not really see him coming, didn't see it coming at all. He really found good pace, settled well into the race. Had to be fair, because he probably could have panicked at any point there, like a lot of guys did. But didn't. Stuck the course, came 4th, good ride. Still lose the championship lead, but he's only a point behind. That's it. That's Pecco at number 2. Like I said, he is up 1 place from number 3 last week. And that means at number 1, he's got his top spot back. Didn't take him long. It's Fabio Quartararo. He's up from 2nd. Last week he was behind Acosta. Yeah, I think we all probably doubted him in the wet, and he kind of delivered. And then as it actually started to rain, the surprising thing was Miller didn't quite have the feel there. And like we saw, he ended up in the dirt. Quartararo is the one that looked like, and Marquez obviously, but Quartararo looked like he had much better feel in those wet conditions on the slicks, and he managed to get himself into the lead there. And dodgy tyre choice with the soft front didn't work for him, but again, didn't panic, rode his race. Knew Zarco was probably going to get him. That's fine. He takes 3rd, takes the championship lead into wherever the hell it is we're going next. Mugello. Yeah. But that's it. That's the top 10. Quickly get into some dishonourable mentions first. Who did we not like this week? It's a tough one, because when it's conditions like that, it's hard to really put too much blame on the riders. It is difficult, right? But the big one for me is Alex Rins. If anyone needed to stay on their bike this week, he needed to stay on his bike this week. Even if he just brought it home in 10th. Do not DNF. But he did. Marquez, only because he crashed twice. If he only crashed once and got on and finished and whatever, I mean, I wouldn't have been that harsh on him, but he went out and did it again. So in the other one, in Moto 2, was there? In Moto 3, everyone, I guess. Yeah, everyone in Moto 3 maybe. In Moto 2, the only one for me was Joe Roberts, because he had so much pace, it looked like, and he finally looked like he was going to have that big challenge for the win. And just like it was just too hot into the corner, like he was never making that. So yeah, Joe Roberts from Moto 2. That's it, I think. I think everyone else I'm not that disappointed with. Honourable mentions, because there are a lot more good performances than bad ones. All right. Danilo Petrucci is an obvious one. Was shocked when I saw him pop up in 5th on the last lap. So good job to him. For Alex Marquez and Taka Nakagami were both really good. Naka really impressed me early on. I mean, Alex ended up getting in front of him here, to be fair. So yeah, good race by him. Taka was the really aggressive one all early in the race. He was the one that caught my eye a little bit more. But you know, both of them, the 2 lead Hondas this weekend, they both finished ahead of Pole and Mark. So good job for them. Same with Iker Lecuona, same with Petrucci. They're all the top KTMs this weekend, so good job to them. And then that's really it. I thought Luca Marini had a good weekend. Made Q2, and he's almost cracked the top 10 here in the race. He finishes behind Rossi. I thought Rossi had a good weekend as well, to be honest. So maybe him, I guess. But you know, he finished 11th, so it's not that great. But yeah, Luca Marini was good. And just big shout out to Lorenzo Savadori, who we don't take very seriously most of the time, especially here on this channel, but my heart broke for him. When that engine let go, I felt so bad for the guy. He's running the points. He looked really strong. Really strong. He was almost rider of the weekend at that point. He made Q2. He was awesome in qualifying on Saturday. Great session. And the bike let go. Both the Aprilias let go. So yeah, that wasn't too good. But yeah, that's the honourable mentions there. And I don't think I have any from Moto 2, to be honest. Tony Arbolino. Good ride, Tony Arbolino. Well done. And Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi's not in the top 10 of the power ranking, so he's starting to show a bit of consistency. So good work from him. And in Moto 3, 3 lads that got on the podium, plus John McPhee, were all really good. Riccardo Rossi, for dropping an F-bomb in his post-race interview. I'm not going to blame him for that. I think that was hilarious. It was really, I did laugh. I said, look, Ash, this kid's dropped an F-bomb. It's his first ever podium. I couldn't have been happier for the guy. It was Sergio Garcia won the race. He was really good. And so was the lad that came in second. What's his name again? The Czech lad. Salats. That's it. That's it for this week. It was a crazy race. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. If you watched through the end, as always, really appreciate that. Subscribe, dislike if you want. I don't give a shit. Just interact with the video, comment, all that stuff. Okay, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Oh, quickly, guys, just a quick apology for anyone who was looking for... I usually will do a pre-race fantasy MotoGP video. I was under the weather all week and bedridden for a couple of days, and by the time it got to Saturday I was like, it's too late, I couldn't be fucked. So we didn't do one, but we will do one before the next race, I promise. Okay, so we'll see you then. Bye.